How are we supposed to know what the police are saying if we can't speak their language? How are we supposed to know what the police are saying if we can't speak their language? That language is called copsplaining. And people may know when the cops are copsplaining, but it doesn't mean they understand exactly what's being said any more than I can be listening to somebody speaking in French, but that doesn't mean that I know what they're saying. I'm going to have an interpreter. Well, that's what I am. I'm your interpreter. One of the most effective ways that the police will copsplain is when they use the term reasonable suspicion with no explanation, no definition, and zero context. Not only do most police officers not have a working knowledge of the definition of what reasonable articulable suspicion is, they know that the public isn't going to have any idea. The public is blind, deaf, and dumb. Oh, reasonable suspicion. So they just need suspicion. So if somebody calls because somebody's being suspicious, that would make them suspicious. So it'd be reasonable that the officers would see the person as being reasonably suspicious. That all makes sense, with no mention whatsoever of an articulated crime. The public doesn't need a law degree to understand reasonable articulable suspicion, any more than the police need a law degree to understand it. They don't get it, and they don't know how to apply it properly because, by and large, they're stupid. I wouldn't say the public is stupid, but too many are just plain lazy to take the time or even make an effort to understand what is arguably the cornerstone of contemporary American law enforcement: how to make a lawful Terry stop, a lawful detention based upon reasonable, articulable suspicion of a particularized crime. It's right there. I just said it. Reasonable, articulable suspicion of a particularized crime. Articulable means facts and circumstances, not conjecture, hunches, gut feelings, mere suspicion. Fishing expeditions. Well, how about this crowd pleaser? Detain until we can figure things out. That's an open admission they don't have enough to detain in the first place. So they're detaining for the sake of detaining, hoping to find a reason to detain. And what they're doing is they're buying themselves time to manufacture a reason. Geez, don't let them do that. Keep the pressure on. You don't get to make shit up, officer. Either you play by the rules or fuck off. So what exactly went on at that December 2019 press conference that the former Aurora, Colorado Chief of Police Nick Metz had with local media? The cameras are rolling. They had an opportunity to ask him questions, and not a single person in that room knew anything. Not a fucking thing. I dedicated 4 sections in Rise of the Oathbreakers Part 2 to the Elijah McClain story, and I really go after Metz. I mean, more than anyone. Elijah was murdered in August of 2019. This is December. Those reporters had 4 months of this staring them in the face, and not a single one knew anything about reasonable, articulable suspicion of a particularized crime. Not one of them knew enough to say, wait a minute, Chief, you threw out reasonable suspicion, but that's not even half of it. It's reasonable, articulable suspicion of a particularized crime. What was the crime in particular that led to his detention in the first place? They would have been able to just hammer him, but they didn't know. And this is so unbelievable and so unacceptable. Talk about intellectual laziness. So anyway, here's his bullshit, and we'll just, for whatever purposes it serves at this late hour. Listen carefully as he blames Elijah for his own death.
Yes, ma'am.
Given that you asked for a force review board, can you just give your assessment of how you felt the officers handled that situation? Do you think that was an acceptable way to handle a call about a person who probably didn't have a weapon, according to the caller? And I'm just curious what your assessment was of this situation as the chief.
I don't believe the caller said he didn't have a weapon. The caller said he didn't know whether he had a weapon.
Well, he said no danger. So when asked if there were weapons mentioned or involved, he said no. And then asked if he was in danger, he said no. So I'm just curious, from your perspective.
Well, let's put correct context that he was asked whether or not he was in danger.
Okay. Webcam. Okay. Give me one moment. I'm just adding notes. Are you or anyone else in danger right now?
The actions of Elijah created some concern enough for him to call 911. It was a warm night. Elijah was wearing a ski mask. As was stated in the declination letter, our officers had reasonable suspicion to make that stop. As was stated in the declination letter, our officers had reasonable suspicion to make that stop. As was stated in the declination letter, our officers had reasonable suspicion to make that stop. And prior to our officers getting there, we don't know why Elijah was acting the way he was. We don't know why he was wearing a mask.